James White was 55 years old and considered himself a lucky man. He lived in a happy marriage with his wife Lisa and had wonderful children and even grandchildren. James had been a driver for all his life, but recently he had switched from large trucks to taxi. One evening, he received an urgent order and drove to the address. He decided to take a shortcut. That's why he turned onto the bypass road, and after a few minutes he saw a little girl about 5 years old who was standing in the dark near the roadway. James stopped and jumped out of the car. "How did you end up here alone in the dark?" he asked the child. But the girl did not answer and shook her head. "You don't want to tell me? Or just can't speak?" he asked her. The girl replied with a nod. And then she took a folded piece of paper from her pocket and handed it to the man. The note, written in bad handwriting with numerous mistakes, said that the girl needed to be taken to the hospital where her grandmother was being treated. After thinking for a minute, James decided to take the girl where she needed to go. When the little girl got into the car, he noticed that something was wrong with her left hand, as if it was injured. Having arrived at the hospital, James faced another problem. He did not know the name of the grandmother they needed to find. Therefore, he asked the staff if there was a woman among the patients of their hospital who could be the grandmother of this girl. Taking pity on the child, the nurse checked the records. Only one woman fit the description. She had been brought in with a heart attack. Her name was Gina Wright. Hearing the familiar name, the girl nodded happily. However, the nurse took James aside and said that Gina Wright had died 3 hours ago. She also noticed the girl's injury and said she needed an X-ray. James took the baby to the pediatric ward. There, doctors found a serious fracture of the arm and multiple bruises on the ribs. James realized that the girl needed medical attention, so she would have to stay in the hospital. Having returned home, he told his wife about everything that had happened. "We have to help her. Tomorrow we will visit her in the hospital together," said Lisa, having heard this terrible story. When the couple arrived at the hospital, good news was waiting for them. The attending physician informed that the girl was not mute. She was simply in a state of shock, so she could not speak. Fortunately, she had already begun to speak quietly and told that her name was Rebecca. Seeing a familiar man, the girl exclaimed, "Oh, my driver, I missed you very much." Tears welled up in James's eyes. From that day on, Mr. and Mrs. White visited Rebecca every day, bringing her toys and treats. Along with this, James tried to find out what had happened to the girl and her grandmother. For this, he contacted the police. It turned out that Rebecca was raised by her grandmother because her parents were gamblers and spent days and nights in the casino, drinking alcohol, wasting all the money, and accumulating huge debts. Sometimes they appeared in the house of the elderly woman, but not because they were thinking about their little daughter. They simply had nowhere to live. One day, Gina Wright had a heart attack, and an ambulance took her away. Rebecca realized that she could not stay under the same roof with her parents and ran away from home. She did not know where to go and just wandered around the streets. Then, on the way, she saw an abandoned house. There was light in the basement. She decided to go down, but she stumbled, fell down the stairs, and broke her arm. A homeless man who was living in the basement helped her up and gave her some food. However, he could not help her injury, so he wrote a note and sent for help. Having heard this story, James wept. He couldn't understand how Rebecca's parents could do this to their daughter. The man told his wife about everything, and they decided to get custody of Rebecca. A few months later, the girl was playing with the grandchildren of Mr. and Mrs. White, who immediately accepted her into their large and friendly family.